Welcome to the CrÆtive Mind podcast. We are happy you're back with us. Our last episode was a conversation in being God. Today we talk about being human, captured on the island of Fuerteventura.
Is it rolling?
Yes.
This is so funny. I have a Kit Kat in my mouth.
Now I feel like I also want to eat something.
Here's a Kit Kat. Here's a piece of a Kit Kat. You want it? Go for it.
Yes, I want.
Go for it.
Thank you.
This kind of feels like when you're a teenager again and you're having sex for the first time, that first virgin feeling. This is what it is, having like the in-person podcast. It's like we know what we're supposed to do, but now we have to do it.
That's what I feel, because I don't know since when. This is my first glass of wine since, I don't know.
Your support. It's not a glass of wine, it's your support.
Yeah, you're right. It's my support.
And
also the Kit Kat is my support.
And you had to give me support for your support. And,
For my support, we were craving this since days.
Yes, this is true. I've been craving beer. And I don't know why. No, I do know why. But it's not for support. It's for some kind of old travel condition I have. Travel condition. That's it. We never really put a name on it. But
it came when we were in the north.
It came when we were in the north.
With more people.
And I
with
smelled
more
it.
tourists. Yeah.
Yeah, it was the sun and it was the water. And I walked by and you could smell the beer.
Yeah, it was that place where everyone was drinking beer at 10 in the morning.
And I was like, an inner alarm went off. You need a beer. I was like, do I? I thought I quit that. Nope, you need a beer. You have to put wine in front of me.
Okay, cheers.
I gotta take it. Cheers. She's making me drink, guys, and I've quit for a long time.
That's not true. You started with the craving.
Okay, I planted the seeds. My condition planted the seeds. But yeah, this is our first in person. We've been talking about this for 2 months.
Yes.
And we're doing it.
Yeah, but as I said before, I forgot that it would be our first in person episode.
For me, it really does feel like the first time you have sex with somebody that you've talked to for a long time. It's that same feeling. it's that same kind of anxious, nervous, ready to do it, but like, yeah, I gotta feel your way to it.
We picked a topic which is also not so easy.
No, of course. If we picked easy topics, we shouldn't even be doing this.
That's true. It's true.
Speaking of topic, we have a story to tell. We've been looking forward to doing a podcast together in person, and we've gone over how many different ideas?
A lot
of different ideas as to what that would be. And we even talked about, no, we can't do that. We'll have to talk about that on the island. And, we've come out with these ideas. But as the universe would have it, we have a different story to tell.
Yeah.
For our virgin podcast moment. Virgin ending podcast moment. And now that I think about it, this is the first time I've ever done a podcast in person.
Nice.
I didn't think about that till just right now. So I'm really a virgin no longer after tonight. But yeah.
I guess you have to introduce this topic.
Yeah. Well, what should we call this? Holy mountain?
Yeah.
We had a very interesting day yesterday. Now, just to kind of set the tone for this. Maybe
we tell where we are. Because people don't know where we are.
Where are we having this conversation? That is beautiful. I will let you tell them where we are.
Yeah, we are on in my new home since a few months in Fuerteventura, the Canary Islands. And you're here now.
I am here.
Which was in the beginning only a joke, maybe?
Yep.
you saying, yeah, I'm going to visit you on the island, and now you're here. And
it was after our first podcast where we were supposed to talk about my acting career, and we did what we did. And then I told you, I said, I need to come there and do a podcast.
No, it was after our first, not the podcast, it was the first Zoom call where we were talking about what we would talk about in the episode, and then you said no, and then we, after 3 minutes, I think I stopped you and said, oh no, I think we should stop now because this is going to be the episode already, and then we stopped, and then we were talking about some other stuff, and we said, oh my god, we have so many topics, it should be a series. And then you said, oh, maybe we could do it in person, I can visit you on the island.
Well, voila.
And that was the beginning, but I think it's not gonna be
manifestation at its best.
Yeah.
Boom, I'm here with a big panda in the live show. To give this a little bit more realism, and I'm realizing right now that this is my first in-person podcast, I don't really know where to look. I catch myself looking at the microphone, looking at you.
No,
this is interesting. No, it's but usually when I go into my what you call Jeff cast, I kind of like drift off into the abyss when I'm looking anyway. So it works out. It's funny. So I just wanted to set the tone that I'm really confused, my friends, as to where to look. But yeah, we are in Fuerteventura. If you guys have been are unfortunate enough to be on any of my social media platforms, I have let the world know that I'm in Fuerteventura. I am your typical tourist right now. Hopefully that ends soon.
No, we didn't do so many tourist.
No, we didn't do so many tourist things, but I talking about as far as like posting photos.
But to come to our topic, yesterday I say we because there was somebody else here, brought you to a holy rock. It
was lots of rocks, but it was a rock mountain. It was like made of rock mountains. But yeah, so we also, to set the stage, like kind of, I feel like what we're doing here is just kind of conversating to kind of maybe intrigue or inspire, or maybe even dip into the minds of that other people, ideas that other people have, and like shed some light on these things. And through this, there's this feel that we have, and I'm very critical of myself, and she knows this quite well, of helping people heal, keeping in mind that we are humans ourselves. But yesterday gave us some, a little lesson. A little lesson, considering the fact that we want to even get to a point where we bring people to the island at some point and help them in various different ways, while in return helping ourselves in various different ways. So let's tell it, shall we? Should I or should you?
Yeah, no, you start.
Okay, I'll start it. I'll go for it. And this is going to be quite interesting as well. So, our friend who was staying here, who we had just met a few nights ago, I believe, decided to go to two places actually. This holy rock mountain, where there's high energy, and then to a real pirate's cave, which is also incredible, but that's another story. So we drive there, and Micah asked me, hey, do you mind driving? One, I love driving. Two, she goes, I'm not so confident with driving in the mountains. And I think my arrogant self said in this moment, oh, yeah, that's what I do. I drive from Alabama. I drive in the mountains. Now, here I am on an island on the other side of the world. These mountains aren't those mountains that I was speaking of. So, and I'm just setting the stage for you all. So we are driving up this mountain, no vegetation, no greenery, just rock and dirt. And I've watched several of those videos, which I'm sure some of you have as well, of those crazy truck drivers that drive on the cliffs. You know, it looks like they're just going to fall off into the abyss at any moment. Well, that's what this was. With a guardrail, but not much of one. Also, for people who don't know, I'm very fearful of heights, and I always have been, and I've been on more planes than I can count. I like climbing things. I love bouldering. It makes no sense, but I'm petrified of heights. So on this drive up, unbeknownst to my passengers, I am sweating bullets. My heart is just pounding, and I am terrified driving up this mountain, who I so confidently said, yeah, I do this all the time. And I'm pretty good at masking it, and I remember getting to the top of this holy mountain and letting them get out of the car and look around the view, and I kind of stood back, and they kind of walked away, and I shut the door, and I went, I had to catch my breath. Y'all didn't even realize that, but I had to capture this moment, because I literally just pushed myself through one of my worst fears. And that was, even though I was in control of the car, that was beside the point. It was quite terrifying. But I'm just setting the stage that this was a very interesting day as a whole. So I had just crossed through this threshold of fear and suppressing it, where my passengers weren't scared of me being scared, because that would have made it worse. But we get to this mountain, and I won't get into the details, but they were right. There's something very special about that mountain. I don't know how long we stayed.
I don't know. I always forget the time when I'm up there. I
can see why, because I kind of... anyway, it was a very beautiful moment. There was something very special about it. And it felt good. And this whole time we've been here, we've had so many beautiful signs that we're doing the right thing, and there's so much purpose, and our ideas just keep... You were talking about earlier about our ideas, and what we could talk about, it just stronger each time. It's just like waves coming in. The big waves just getting bigger and bigger and bigger. So at this point, I just passed through this, again, threshold of fear, and then I've experienced this holy mountain with energy and all that stuff. And here's where the real story begins. On the way up, I remember seeing that camper. Do you?
No.
I remember seeing it because there was a camper about maybe we were 3/4 of the way up the mountain, and pulled to the side in like a little parking place was this camper truck. So it was like a full-size RV, but drivable. And they had their lawn chairs out, and I was thinking to myself, because I was in fear mode at that point, and I was like, y'all drove that thing up here? And so I recognized them, and they were sitting in their chairs, and we drove all the way up. Well, on the way down, and I have to say too, I do have to mention this, I realized, and it's the same thing in planes, and this is something to maybe talk about another time, but my fear comes to the ascent. If I'm ascending in an airplane, that's where my level of fear. When we stabilize and then when we land, no problem. But particularly, I didn't love landing. So the same thing happened on the mountain. Going up was terrifying. Going down was nothing.
That's interesting.
That's very interesting. And I would probably say the same thing. Again, I've only done magic mushrooms in a ceremony once in my life, but it's kind of essentially the same thing where, people say, who do it a lot more than I do, that you're fearful of the ascent into your psychedelic journey. And it's like the letting go and letting experience, and then everything's fine. So it's kind of sort of like that. Anyway, what I'm saying is on the way down, I'm totally fine. I'm not in panic mode. But we get down to that little place where you could park, and that RV was, and the timing of it was very interesting because a tow truck had just picked up that big camper truck and was just driving off in it. So we were coming around the corner as it was, we saw it drive off. So the universe showed us clearly that they had just been left by the tow truck. There was 4 people They had their backpacks on. I believe it was 3 males and 1 girl, if I remember correctly.
Yeah, I think so.
And so just as we were coming past them, this wrecker truck was going around the corner with their ride. And we could quickly realize that, well, their camper truck broke down on this mountain. They had to call somebody to come get it. And for some reason, they couldn't go down with him. Now, there was 4 people with bags, so maybe they decided they could be better off catching a ride down because they couldn't fit into the cab of the tow truck. And as fate would have it, we were the next car that come by. Now
there was one before us that didn't stop.
There was one before us? Really?
Yeah, really a small
that.
one.
I don't remember that. There's a small, maybe, okay, so there's, yeah, really? Okay, I don't remember that.
Yeah.
Interesting. But anyway, our vehicle was a van. So it's a van. What I'm trying to tell you guys is there's room. There's 3 of us. So you have 1 person in the driver's seat, 1 person in the passenger seat, and 1 person in a big couch back in the back. So as we were going right to them, they were sticking their hands out like the hitchhiker, thumbs up, and immediately registered, they couldn't go with the trucker because it was too many of them and they need a ride down the mountain, which, guys, ride down the mountain's 5 minutes, maybe 4 minutes down to the little village. Here's where the lesson comes in. When I see them pull their thumbs out and I see visually what had occurred with them, the unfortunate situation, and I know what they want to do, get off the mountain. So I immediately take my foot off the accelerator and I'm starting to pull over to talk to them and see if they need a ride because we're in a van. But then something happened that's really hard for me to articulate the energy of everybody in the van because I can only express for myself. I'm the one in control of the van. Okay, I'm the one driving. My initial intuitive reaction is to pull over and obviously give these 4 people, unfortunate people, a ride down the mountain. So that's my intuition. And here's the problem. This is where I start allowing my thinking brain to overthink. My first reaction was, they need to ride down in the car. There was some dialogue between us. I really don't remember what that was. But then I immediately thought, well, this is not my van. Again, this is thoughts. I'm not saying this stuff out loud. So this is not my van. I'm with 2 girls. We had just met our friend in the back. I don't want to make them feel awkward by putting a bunch of strangers in the car. And I don't know where they want to go. Maybe they need to go like 2 hours from now. Maybe they're not just trying to go down the middle. And suddenly, after taking my foot off the accelerator and putting it on the brake, I slowly take my foot off the brake and put it back on the accelerator, and I make eye contact with these people. And I'm like, I throw my hands up like, there's 3 of us already in here and there's 4 of you, and I just keep going. And the girl is the one that's out front. And I think she noticed us slowing down and then kept going. And I made eye contact with her and I'm like, sorry. And I was trying to like point like some kind of way that we're kind of full, which we weren't. And she gave me this unforgettable look of, really, dude? And I just kept going. And I don't think we said anything for the first 5 or 6 seconds. I think it was a little...
I forgot.
I think it was a little bit of a pause. And then I don't really remember, but I think I said something like, why the hell didn't we stop? And then...
I also forgot.
Yeah. And so we just went down the road. And the further we got down the mountain, the worse we felt, I think.
Yeah. Okay, I think I have to tell my
Yes,
perspective
please.
now, because now
Please.
you were telling the story. I have like this
Yes.
slow-mo movie inside of my head, feeling in slow-mo what was going on in myself. I mean, we talked about this before now, before we hit record, but I even feel worse now because you just said also that this whole week was so much magic and ideas and whatever we were creating in our heads and what happened here, and this moment was like back to human reality or whatever.
Right.
And honestly, I feel so bad now because I already forgot. I didn't even forget this moment, but now we are talking about it. I forgot how bad I felt because I was suppressing it, I guess. And I had the same intuition to stop, but I was not driving. And also, I really have to admit, and this really hurts now, because I feel my conditioning and my thoughts coming the next moment after this intuition. Because I also had this thought, how can we are not allowed to put 4 people in this car where are only 2 seats left. I mean, when I was young, we drove from Stuttgart to Italy with 5 people in the back of the car overnight. Yeah, but I have this. I remember yesterday that I had this moment where I thought, no, we cannot take 4 people in the car where are only 2 seats left. So this was my moment, and then this may sound really strange now, but I think I have to say it because I'm not the only person who thinks like that, and I even feel like it's not my thought. Thinking these are strangers and they come into my space, and that kind of scares me. It's just a little moment, but I have to admit that I thought that, maybe not so consciously in that moment, but now I'm thinking of it, I feel that thought. And that makes me really feel bad, because in the afternoon we were talking about everything is one, we are all one, and blah. And I think these are the main thoughts. The one is the rules, and the other one is the strangers. But I could see that these were not strange people. So, and you're right. That sorry.
No. I just wanted to. I'm glad that you said this, because early when I told the story, if you mentioned that I said there was some dialogue said, but I remember what I did, but I didn't want to be the one to shed that thing. But I remember as I was stopping, I could feel the hesitance in you. But our friend in the back, who we're not going to mention right now, I did hear her verbally say,
I know.
But we don't have the room for 4 people. And this interesting, you said condition as far as like the rules, because I had no thought of course, I'm from Alabama. We shove people in. Like, I wasn't even thinking that we could not get these 4 people in our bed. I knew that we could. But more of me, as I was worried about putting you 2 in an awkward position, because again, it wasn't my car, and where I blame myself fully for this is because I was in charge of the vehicle. I should have pulled over and overcome that and be like, what we're doing right now is, I'm going to take a pause in it, is we are exposing ourselves. We're exposing ourselves. And why are we exposing ourselves? Because we think, after having the conversation about this today, that it's important to remember that just because we want to help people, and we do, but see, that doesn't make us special. We're humans, and we have human conditions, and we're going to make mistakes. And for me, this is a very humbling thing because we've been riding on this high all week long that we're going to help so many people. And I still think that we are.
Yeah.
But we have to remember that we are human too. And we've still got conditions that we have to work on. And that's why we felt that this is worth sharing. And lo and behold, it's our first live podcast. It couldn't be more perfect.
Yeah.
So apparently you girls kept talking about it in German on the way down.
And not so much, but we just both said. No, I remember, like you said before, there was we all in the car were silent for minutes. That's true. And I could feel us all thinking. And then I remember, I don't know who started, if it was our friend or if it was me. I think she said, we should have helped them, right? And I thought the same. I felt bad, but yeah.
And I think all the way down, I was calling myself a lot of names. Because that's what I do. I was calling myself a lot of dirty names for basically just being an asshole in that moment.
But you know what I also remember? I also had this short thought of, what if we stop now here on this dangerous
I considered
street?
about turning around. I considered
And I thought, how can you turn? I honestly, I thought, how can you stop here?
Yeah.
And the street, like it's going down on the right side. I don't want to go.
Oh, we're still on the same mountain with the cliff people, okay?
Yeah.
So we're like, again, this was very humbling. It was very humbling on this very high energetic high we've had all week long. I think it was such a beautiful experience, really, whether we liked it or not. But isn't that what healing is, right?
Yeah.
This is the essence of that. It's exposing something. It's exposing conditions. You don't like it. You try to suppress it. You try to and so we went to the pirate cave next, which was awesome. There was a beach there, and I'd never seen black sand before, but I guess it fit the pirate theme. But this is real stuff. None of the stuff was put there. But we had a beautiful time. It was absolutely gorgeous. Again, I'm sorry if you follow me on social media because you got to see too much of that. But it was just a beautiful, beautiful thing. And I remember Micah asking me on the way back, or was it on the way back?
It was after the cave.
It was after the cave. She was asking me, so I'm curious, what did you feel inside of the cave? No, it was on the drive back because I didn't go into detail why I said this. I just told you.
Right.
And so she asked on the drive back, she goes, so I'm curious as to what you felt when you were inside these big pirate caves. And I was just honest with you. I told you very bluntly and very sharply, nothing. I felt nothing. And you were surprised.
But you said there was a reason why. You won't explain it now.
I won't explain it then.
Yeah.
But I was just very sharp. I was like, nothing. I was numb. I felt nothing. And I knew why. Because I was still being humbled by this ridiculous notion that we've been riding on all week, that we are going to help people, and we are going to help people. Let's not get misunderstood with that. But we were humbled in the fact that just because we feel that we've been given this opportunity doesn't make us any, greater than anything else,
Yeah.
The teacher is the student and vice versa. And this is what this is.
And that's what I wanted to say earlier, where I stopped talking. I think I mentioned this maybe in another episode, I forgot. But this is where it comes to, you and me, we're talking about spirituality a lot. But for me, I can only say the thing that where I did my education said, the most spiritual thing you can do is being a human. Because there are so many people thinking spirituality is, I'm in a high energy and I'm the light and I'm healing people, and I don't want to offend anyone, but now I lost my point. wait, it's coming.
By the way, you sound like me. I'm rubbing off.
No, but we have to remind ourselves that we are not okay. I don't know. I can have my education and I can be spiritual and I can have my years of spiritual healing myself and blah blah. But I'm still a human, and we will all stay humans all our lives, and that's why we're here, to make an experience. And yes, we can grow in our spirituality, but I think we have to keep in mind that we are humans and we will stay forever.
Well, maybe not forever.
Yeah, but for this lifetime.
Yeah.
And that's what we were talking about yesterday as well, because all these, now we are back at this topic, but all these healers and coaches, yes, I'm also a healer and a coach, but what we were sitting here, as you said before, we met this girl who is here on the finca as well, and she actually booked an intensive week, but the coach couldn't come because of this pandemic at the moment. And so we were here and talking to her, and there was some magic happening. Like she didn't book us, but we had a really nice conversation. And that's what we were talking yesterday as well. This kind of conversation, that is healing as well, and that's the real stuff, or the that's what's happening. And it's so hard to explain. Maybe you can explain that better than me.
Yeah, what it is for me, it's just intuitive happenings. You know, what happened with our now friend, I would consider her now a friend, was just okay, so preface this here. We do talk a lot about spirituality, and I love it, and I've already learned so much from Micah, and that's being honest. I've learned, and again, I told you the other day, I'm like, you're working on me, and it's beautiful.
Yeah, but vice versa.
Yeah, but I kind of lost my place now. But so we talk a lot about spirituality, but as she knows, I'm always critical of myself. So all the way that I'm talking spirituality, I'm also making fun of myself for talking so spiritual like all the time. Look at me, guys. I'm gonna, I understand the divine. But I have to do that, though. It's my balance. I have to, because I feel this way. But at the same time, to keep myself in check, I have to make fun of myself doing so. But again, that's my balance. It's also my balance to be critical as to whatever I even think or feel. I think it's important to challenge myself and be challenged by others. I think that's for me, that's the biggest learning curve is to be wrong a lot. But as she said, we've been on this kind of spiritual. Here I go again. Spiritual. On this spiritual journey this week, which we have. It's been it's every crazy. We've had a kalima that like this sandstorm, basically that was created by this unique situation that we learned through her friend from fishermen's. That there's these two storms, one in the Americas and one I think in Africa or in that region, that's put us in the middle, and we were just like basically called them sandstorms for the first 3 days I was here. And there were so many things that she wanted to show me, not tourist things, but like beautiful scenic things. I'm going to stay away from the tourist word. But these scenic things, but this kalima kind of affected me a little bit. Like, I found myself having a hard time breathing. I had a headache. And, I got to where I started wearing a mask outside. It was kind of strange. But what I'm saying is it kind of kept us from being distracted, really. Yeah. It kept us from being distracted. So there's been a lot of divine happenings, ladies and gentlemen. But really, though, it was quite beautiful because it just brought some focus in, and so what we want to do, and these things keep happening. And as she just explained, her friend had an intensive session with a client here, and due to some unfortunate pandemic situations, couldn't make it, and we felt intuitively that, hey, let's see what she's doing. And I don't think we ever had the intention of filling the space. We just let's, I don't know. We just felt like to bring her over or invite her over or to go there or whatever. And me not knowing her, you realizing later that you had met her actually, but not knowing that before, I think.
But to be honest, the intention was not to fill the space, but because I mean, the other coach I work together with her as well, so I know how she works. And you asked me that morning, and I knew exactly that we would do the same thing without wanting to coach her. So, and that's the magic that happened, because we already thought about working all together.
I just suppressed myself from saying the same thing because I have to keep myself in check. But yes, well, we've had this conversation outside this podcast. It was an intuitive feeling that, hey, let's just do it. Let's do it for her. It was that. It was that feeling. And you know what? The moment she walked in, without any kind of purpose, once she walked in, it's almost like we just snapped right into the frequency.
Yeah.
And went to this incredible conversation that nurtured us all. And we were just storytelling. That's what we're doing. We're just storytelling. She was telling her story, I was telling my story, you were telling your story. And see, this is this triangular effect of conversation was exactly what not only she needed, but also what we needed.
Yes. Yeah.
And
I think there was a quite important moment for us as well, for our future work.
It was almost like again like this humbling lesson from the universe yesterday was the same works. And this is what I feel is part of the same thing. And this is how I felt today, that we need to tell the story. We need to capture this. And again, this is an interesting, exposing ourselves to you all in this way, where we do want to help you, and we want you to help us. And
but okay, I know where I want to go now, because why are we telling this story now? Because for me, I think what was quite interesting this week, or also for me that changed something in my mind, everything what happened from that client talking to us to this happening in the mountains, like we talked today in the car, for me I was questioning myself again, what is healing? And it's that the thing that you said yesterday, healing is, no, we didn't even talk about healing. We just said that's the real thing, what's happening, what we do. It's this raw, also questioning ourselves and talking about this also in front of people.
Because we're being very transparent.
Yeah.
We're being who we are, and that's humans. We're humans. We're conditioned. We're conditioned by a multitude of things. How we were raised, our environments, everything. And how we nurtured ourselves, how we were nurtured by others. There's so many conditions. And then there's our natural way of reacting, that things need to be sharpened, things need to be worked on. And this is, basically us exposing ourselves to the fullest. Yet this not detouring us at all from knowing what we're going to do, what we have the capabilities of doing. And that's connecting, storytelling, and helping keep the balance.
Yeah, and now I don't know. Now I'm coming to the next point where Okay, before we recorded here, we went to the supermarket.
To get our support. For our virginity moment.
Yeah, but that's so interesting that I mean, okay, we were having this craving for alcohol since
all week long. Yeah.
Yeah.
That's weird.
But now, because we talked about the topic before, I felt like, oh my God, that hurts to talk about this topic. That's... I mean, it's all right. I'm okay that this hurts, but also what we were talking then at on the way there or on the way back about this. I found this quite interesting that you were observing things that I realized are very German. And for me, it's easy for me to tell you that I think that this is very German, even if I'm German. I don't know why it's easy for me then in front of you, but I realized that these days that there are a lot of things that are very German.
Yeah, I'm not a German, so I'm going to be careful as to what I say here. But I've spent a lot of time with Germans the last 6 years. And I've loved Germany. If my friends know back home, they can attest to this. I've always talked highly of Germans. And the reason we were there with my son is because Germans do things better, in my opinion, for families and stuff. But while being there, several other tendencies of kind of like the masses and individually that Germans seem to have and seem to do. Pretty severe conditioning. And it's not something that's easily kind of discovered, really. Now, comedians make fun of certain things, but again, because the material is there, you know? And again, I'm not portraying Germans as bad people whatsoever. On the contrary, I love my German people. My son's German. I'll always be very connected to the German culture and the German people. And my last name is Holman, for crying out loud. German's there, but at the same time, there are some fascinating things to notice, and I have observed. I have a tendency to observe. Period. You probably noticed that in your short time with me. But when we're walking, I find rocks. You know, I'm always seeing something cool. I'm always seeing faces and things. I find more money than people ever should in life. Like these are other stories, but my friends and my exes can tell you my story. I find money all the time, but it's just simply because I'm always very aware of my surroundings. So I observe people. Maybe that's why I got into like acting and storytelling, because I observe people's tendencies and I'm fixated on their things of being. All these are another stories, but there are some very interesting. And if I'm just going to be heartfelt for a moment, there's some sad parts to this conditioning that I feel like Germans have. It's heavy, I know. And again, I'm not German, so I really can't speak on it much. But we talked about some things tonight that I think you want to talk about at some point. But possible, it's better to do that with other Germans than it is.
Yes.
This dumb American. So.
I think we're not gonna dive into that topic too much today.
No.
But
we're setting the stage for.
Yeah.
We're giving y'all cliffhangers.
Yeah, but what was important for me today was that. Or these days when you observed these things and I realized, oh, that's pretty German. You didn't even say it's German. I said it.
Yeah.
And for me, I mean, I am German. But I say this because I realized in my own journey over the past few years that these patterns or conditionings really blocked me from some things. I mean, it for my own personal development, I had to get rid of some of these thoughts or conditionings, and I'm still on my way. But it's, I don't want to say Germans are bad or Germans have these strange patterns or whatever. But I think talking about it, or in front of other people, would help the German society. It sounds so big, but to change in a way that helps a lot of people. And I don't know where I'm going with this right now.
I feel like you're having an awareness to this.
Yeah.
And you want to express this with other Germans to shed a little light and hope that it has a little healing. Because again, it's not, these things that we're talking about are not dramatic things. But there are lots of small things. But then when you put them all together, it does create this big thing.
I think I want to give one example.
Yeah.
The thing that you said before, all the people are walking on the street. We have to say, where we are right now, there are a lot of, where the supermarket is, there are a lot of Germans. So where I usually live in the north, there are many other people from other countries, not so many Germans, but here's a very touristic place, and there are a lot of Germans. So and they are walking in the middle of the street where normally they shouldn't walk.
And I kept saying, well, yeah, just go ahead, guys. Just walk in the street. That's totally normal. Just walk in front of my vehicle that's coming down towards you. Just do it. And then you made the point that it's Germans. I wasn't even saying that it was Germans.
I think so. I mean, I wasn't sure, but I just had this thought coming up that it's so interesting. When you have these observations, I have these pictures in my head or thoughts that a lot of things Germans do, and including myself in the past. I mean, now I'm living here, but when I went on vacation, I did a lot of stuff I wouldn't do in Germany for whatever reason. And it's not only walking on the street. There are many other things that I would do on vacations just because I think, it's my vacation now. I can do whatever I want. And that thought made me realize, why would we as Germans suppress so many things and do it on vacation just because it's vacation? And that made me think again about, I mean, it's another episode we already published now, when this episode will be published. This is the thing of the story of my life, breaking out of structures and rules. Because why do we have this need to break out of everything once we are on vacation? Why can't we do that in our everyday life? Why are we not free like this?
Well, just to shed a little bit of light on that, I do think that most first world societies have this. It's just that it seems a little bit more suppressed in Germans. So therefore when they, and gosh, we feel like we're really talking about Germans. I swear, guys, we're not. But like, but she's right. Like, there's these moments of like, okay, I don't have to follow these rules now. Because if whoever's listening does not know the German society so much, Germans love their rules. Well, I'm not going to say they love their rules, but they follow the rules. There are a lot of rules, extra rules, and a lot of paperwork for those rules. And I do mean lots of paperwork for those rules. Paperwork for paperwork. So this makes sense, though. Like when you go on vacation, it's like freedom from that kind of mass psychosis that's happened within Germany. And again, being an American, we're the same way. We freaking work for the weekends, hard labor. You know, we have this as well. But I get what you're saying. There's this almost like rebellious thing that Germans have. Like, I'm walking in the street. Just to tie one more story to this before we make this a whole episode about German the German psyche. But and there's some deeper stuff that we talked about a little bit tonight that we're not going to go into. Yeah. I'm going to save that for another conversation. That I have no business being a part of. But this happened in the same place, in the same supermarket. We were having another conversation, another German thing, which I will make fun of this, guys. If you are German, listen to me very clear. Because this needs to stop. I have no problem shedding some light on this with a little bit of angst. That does mean angry, right? No, that means scared. Angst means scared. Angst, right? Angst.
Yeah.
Scared. No, I'm definitely not scared, but you should be.
Fear. Angst. Fear.
Yeah. Well, you should have fear when I'm saying this. But I noticed, again, we're in Spain. Why this is Spain is another conversation as well. We're right next to Africa. But anyway, we're in Spain. So we're in a first world country grocery store. And we're standing in a long queue, or what like people here on this side of the world call it queue. We just call it, Americans call it line. We're in line. Queue is a weird word. But anyway, we're in the queue for people listening. And it's a long one. And there's only one cashier, one line. And because it's a long line, she calls another cashier to come open. And immediately, being the over-observant person that I am, I'm like, oh, we're in another country I've never been in before. This is going to be a nice experiment. They're going to open a new cash register soon. We have a long line. I wonder what's going to happen. Why do you ask why I wonder this is going to happen? Because Germans do something that I've never seen before. In the States, now, mind you, I'm an American. We have more flaws than most people in the world. Now, that's just me being a little hard critical. But we have this me tendency too. But I do believe we are incredibly cordial and we have line or queue etiquette. So that means when they open a new line, when there's a long line, we have the courtesy of allowing who's ever in front and wants to go first to go first. Does this happen in Germany, Micah? No. It's a fucking free-for-all. You may have to edit that. But Germans, the people in the back, will just arrogantly just walk to that thing. Will just cut people off. And I remember being in Germany for the first time and seeing this and getting very angry. And I thought they were just very rude people, these particular people. And then I started noticing, well, that's just what they do here. So even in my mind, you know, I'm thinking, okay, Americans have line etiquette. Germans, this has this me mentality in the queue, in the line. Which, if you want to dive into the deeper psychology to that probably is in line too with a lot of. There's no rule for that. We've never talked about a rule for that. We don't have paperwork for line etiquette, so we can break that. You know, there's some deep stuff. We can go there. Yeah. But we need to pause on that for a second. But because I'm not German, I feel like I should really moderate my critical analysis of But anyway. So back to this grocery store. So I wanted to see, and I had all this thought process in like a millisecond. So I wanted to see if the Spaniards, or whatever they call themselves here, the Canary people, I don't know, have line etiquette. And sure enough, when they opened the second register, I felt no movement behind me. And in fact, the guy standing in front of me, which was another person in front of them that was right before the first cash register, tapped him on the shoulder and politely pointed towards the other cash register. And I remember turning to Micah, and that was when I was saying, well, that's nice to see. They don't do the German things here. And then you asked the question. I was like, and then I had to explain to you this German line free-for-all when it comes to grocery stores. So this grocery store had two little lessons. But you can say whatever you feel like you're saying. But I think I'm done with the German stuff for myself tonight.
Just briefly, that's what I said to you afterwards. I am German and I can feel this. No, I'm half German. But no, I grew up in Germany. But I can feel this. That's my explanation. Maybe the German listeners have another one, but mine is that I feel like the Germans, wherever that comes from, we are not gonna dive into this today, but it's this fear of not getting enough. And I think that comes from the World War times, I guess. But there is a lot of fear of I don't have enough. I mean, no, oh shit, when I go into this now.
Yeah.
But I think that's basically it.
Yeah, this should be continued with Germans. Again, I don't feel... it's really not my space to go. I can obviously have my observations, but it's not me to articulate how Germans feel, and I'm not German, and I'm raised in Germany. So it's not my story. It's not my. But to briefly go back to the Holy Mountain.
Yes.
Our humbled lesson from the universe. I know what the loss was for me. It's almost like I was. For whatever reason, I had this awareness as of what I lost in that moment. And it wasn't that I was angry at myself, which I was. It wasn't that I'm now thankful for this moment, this lesson that we're talking about as a lesson. But what I know that we missed, and I will say missed, is a beautiful connection.
That's true. Yes.
I knew...
Yeah.
We just missed a beautiful connection with those 4 people. Something could have made a special friendship. It could have been anything, but I do know deeply that we missed something.
Yeah.
That's what I was thinking of earlier that I didn't want to say. That I know that something was missed. And we won't get it back. We can't go back and fix that. It's gone. And it was captured beautifully. I wish I could capture in a painting, and maybe I one day will. But when this girl noticed that we weren't going to stop, she gave me this unforgettable, from like, are you going to help us, to, dude. It was just, and I deserve every bit of this feeling what I'm having right now.
Oh, that's so true. I can even feel the pain now. Because these moments with these new connections are the most beautiful ones, and we just didn't, or we lost this moment because of fears and conditioning and stuff like that.
And just there's so much deep ideas in this occurrence like this. Okay, so it would be easy for me to say like I don't blame us because we were conditioned, but this is how I feel in the world. Again, I don't want to dive into this subject. I really do not want to dive into this subject tonight. But I do want to kind of explain or try to articulate what I'm talking about. But it's a simple kind of analogy of a bully at school, right? When a bully is picking on someone at school, okay, so that bully is an asshole, right? Nothing changes. Definitely an asshole. But why is that bully an asshole? Conditioning probably from another bad source. And this is what I'm talking about. Like, not that we were bullies in this case. It's not what I'm insinuating. This is not what I'm saying. I'm just giving the analogy that I'm not giving us as an excuse, but we're still human, and we're still going to be human until we die. At least that's my opinion. Yeah, and for me, this is embarrassing, really.
For me
and
too.
Humiliating, and I still feel bad, and you know what? I will feel bad for a long time. And not only did I miss a connection with those people, which I know that we missed something, but it ruined the rest of my day. Really. And I deserved it. I thought about it last night. I thought about it this morning. I thought about it to the point where I just kept bringing it up to you. And I finally just said, I think we were sitting outside, and I was like, I've got to just say this. What we did yesterday was bullshit. That's exactly.
And I'm happy you said it.
It was just eating away at me.
Yeah.
And that kind of opened the door for us to talk about it. And then we came to the beautiful conclusion. Blah, 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 can't speak right now.
Conclusion.
You teach me English. Conclusion. So, going forward, the listeners and the people who visit us on these magical, spiritual islands know that we're humans.
Yeah, and I have one question. You said a few weeks ago, now you introduced it very well, that, I don't know in which context it was, but you said something like, you're distancing from being a human.
Ooh.
I mean, you can say if you wanna dive into this now, but it just came to my mind because we were talking now about we are humans until the rest of our lives. So what did you mean by distancing from being a human?
That's a really good question, and I like being put on the spot because if I'd had time to think about this, I could probably articulate myself a little bit better, but I appreciate the rawness of this question and this out of the blue. And it's true. Now, let me clarify before I get into this, that this feeling that I have of losing, I won't say that I'm not feeling very human. I'm losing my connection to feeling to be a human. And that's a really strange way to explain this. But what I'm trying to say is, it's not that I am ascending to a greater being. That's not it at all. I can't stop my thoughts. I'm always in conversation with myself all the time. Two things happen all the time in my head. No, let me back up. Three things happen all the time in my head. I'm a very nostalgic person. I'm always thinking of past and moments. I'm always in conversation with myself. Always. I analyze and observe everything, and I'm like, why is that? Well, I'm just constantly overanalyzing, over-observing, and having conversations with myself. And yes, like an insane person, I answer myself. And then the creative stuff. I don't stop thinking of creative ideas. I don't stop. What I meant by losing my humanness, is humanness a word? I just made it a word if it's not. Losing my humanness is that I feel like I'm losing emotional needs, emotional feelings. These last 2 years of my life have been quite intense. Now, intense to my world. There are millions of people that have had far more intense lives than I have, but that's kind of irrelevant because, as the Buddha or somebody far more intelligent than I am once said, that the worst thing that's ever happened to a human is the worst thing that's ever happened to the human. And that's true. So it doesn't matter what unfortunate things have happened in your life. Those are the most unfortunate things that happen in your life. And there's no scale to that. And so the last 2 years have been intense, to say the least. And in this time, and it's so strange that we're having wine tonight, because I look at things differently. Like, for instance, wine, beer, those are suppressants, right? So when you want to have a little bit more fun, as we were talking about psychology of Germans earlier, having a little bit more fun, loosen the rules, Well, that's what alcohol does to all humans in all phases. It's like, I want to have fun tonight. So if I'm going to drop all my human conditions and just let loose, I need some alcohol. That's the magic. That's what we look for. Instantaneous, like, mind freedom. And we need that. And these are the kind of, like, somehow in this intense vortex that I've been through, I've just disconnected myself from these cravings. And it goes far further than alcohol, which I'm having tonight for the first time, and I can't tell you when. I isolated myself in a small village in Germany when things started getting quite rough, and right before something really, really got rough. And I really didn't know why I did it, because I didn't know a single person in that town. I didn't know how I was going to make money. I thought I was just going to figure it out, because of the pandemic we spoke of earlier. My financial source kind of like just abruptly stopped, along with other things simultaneously. And again, I'm not pulling out the violin and getting into the woe is me. I'm just explaining that things happened, and for whatever reason, I moved off to a small village called Iserlohn. And a mutual friend, and well, I'll get to that in a second, but that was some of the most intense emotional moments in my entire life. When my son, at that time we were doing 50-50 with my son. He was going to Berlin for 2 weeks. He was coming to me for 2 weeks. And when he left to go back to Berlin, each time, it broke me in ways that I can't really, and I don't even want to articulate. There's so many layers I need to put on top of this. I'm somebody that doesn't cry a lot. I am a very sensitive person. I'm a very emotional person. But I'm someone who doesn't cry a lot. I probably could have counted on two hands maybe twice how many times I probably cried in my entire life. But every time my son left, literally when his mom would get him downstairs, I would break in ways that I really can't explain. I would fall to my knees and ugly cry. And it broke me. Because every time he left, my life was getting sucked away again. This false sense of stability that I had was getting taken away from me, because he is my everything, and he's connected to other things that I had, and it's just all gone. And the next time, gone again. And I was just left by myself. It's just almost like I was just getting extracted from this, like, whatever good feelings I had left. And so I'm just left there with my thoughts. Just me. Me in this top apartment loft to just be with myself. And that's it. And for whatever reason, I had no desire to suppress these feelings, these heartbroken feelings. No desire to suppress them through alcohol or through going out and meeting people, anything. I just kind of sat in it. And I guess when life decided that wasn't enough, the pandemic hit home. And it just sucked again. And this time in places that I didn't want it to extract from. So basically I put myself in like this isolation box. And all my nostalgic feels of my past lives were just getting sucked away. And I was just left with memories and regret and the mistakes I had made and the things I could have done better, and like, how did I get here? I was just stuck in this temple of reflections. But as all that was happening, I was I was starting to have thoughts that I'd never had before. And no, these are not negative thoughts. These are insanely positive thoughts. It's like the worst was happening to me in my heart, in my conscious and my everything. But as one cup was emptying out, another cup was getting filled. And this is going to sound cliche, and I got to make fun of myself as I say this, but cup of purpose. And I'm just going to stop there for the rest of it, but I do have to mention that we have a mutual friend who gave me an insane observation and quite hilarious perspective on what I had just gone through and where I did it and how I ended up there. And it's just with a play of words. I moved to Iserlohn. It's called Iserlohn. And he goes, ha, that's funny. I was like, what's funny? He goes, is alone. Is alone. And I just, that's all I can say. I isolated myself to go through these. And this is a really strange way to answer your question. But I wanted to kind of on the spot articulate it as much as possible. But this cup I talked about emptying out, this cup was filled of these interesting necessities I've had through my entire life of needing stability from things around me. Like I need the stability of another person to get me through this. I need the stability of, I don't know, a drink to have fun. The stability of like, oh, I need to find love to get through my life. Or I need my mother to always be there and whatever. All these needs, that cup was being emptied. And it was being emptied because it was being filled with purpose. And I know I sound like a crazy guru right now, but this is the truth. This is what I mean by I'm losing my feel to be a human in the best spontaneous way I could attempt to articulate that. So, yeah, that's all I got to say about that. As I grab my glass of wine that she stuck in front of me.
Okay, just to understand, I think you already told me, but this being alone, this sounds very cliche now as well, that we don't need, that we have everything inside of us.
I love the way you just said that. That's what I discovered. And I think that, and I made this really silly connection, I think, with my friend Jacob. Yeah, I was like, I don't know what it feels like to be a monk. Just go in solitude, reflect with yourself all the time, every single day, and find peace. As cliche as that sounds. I am at peace. I am stable. I'm strong. Here. I don't need it to be filled. I don't need it to be comforted. I don't have to chase these things. It's a fucking hell of a price to get there, though. If you were to take me back to the beginning and say, this is going to happen to you, but you're going to get there, I can't hear and tell you that I got the strength to be like, okay, let's go. Because it's fucking hell. Yeah, I'm not going to sit here and pretend that I would have the strength to just be like, yeah, let's go. But it just happened.
Okay, but do you think that, because I think this feeling of having everything inside of us, do you think that people only can get that by being on their own for a while?
I don't know. I'm not going to pretend that I do know. I have no idea. I do feel that everybody here suffers from something, without question. Like from life, we're always suffering. I mean, hunger is a form of suffering, right? Like when you're hungry, you're suffering. Like when a baby cries because he wants milk, he's suffering to get nurtured. And that's what we're doing here, right? We're suffering to be nurtured. And that's not to say that the people that suffer the worst come out on the other end as a god or a monk or any kind of enlightened thing, I don't know what the ingredients are. I can only pull from like, you know, my own understanding, and I never made a conscious effort to do any of what I did.
I think not everyone has to go through this kind of solitude. I mean, I spend a lot of time on my own as well, but and I'm not saying I'm in the same place like you, but I think it doesn't matter what it is. If it's, I mean, we talked in one of the other episodes about relationships and needing love, for example. And this is one example, and the other one you just mentioned is eating. We talked about this as well. Like, we eat too much. Do we really need it, or do we eat the food because we want to suppress something, or why do we drink alcohol? There are many ways to suppress things. I think whatever it is we need, if it is food or love or alcohol or an adventure or whatever it is, I think the way is to question ourselves why we need that.
Yeah. And again, I'm only pulling, again, I don't pretend to know anything. I'm only pulling from my perspective. And I know you've heard me say this 1,000 times, but I also need to capture this as well and let the people know that I don't pretend to know a damn thing. I just can only shed light from my little bitty tiny perspective. For me, as what you just said, finding out what's a necessity to suffer for. Because yes, we suppress by... Okay, with food, we suppress things by overeating. Yes, it's a form of suppression. But take that away, we still have to eat. And we still get hungry to eat. So there's still suffering in there, whether we're suppressing or not. We have to eat to live. And there's a signal from your body that's like, oh, I don't feel so good. I'm getting crunky. I'm like, your body purposely makes you suffer a little bit to realize it needs to be nurtured. So it's a signal. So I feel, to answer your question, in my perspective, in my life, it's narrowing out by subtraction of what things need to be suffered for that are truly necessary. Like my son not being with me, I suffer immensely. Because I feel he needs his father. He also needs his mother, equally so. But I feel he needs me, and I suffer when he walks out the door. And I feel that he really wants us both at the same time. That's what he needs. That's what he feels he needs, and I can feel that. So when he's taken away from me, and I'm not exaggerating. When he walked out the door and went down the steps, I would shut the door and not let him see it, and I would fall. I could not take a step, and I would fall, and I would cuddle myself on the ground crying. And I am not that type of fucking dude. And I would just let it. I wouldn't try to fight it. I would just submit to it. Completely submit to it. It's like, for me, it's, what do I need to suffer for that's gonna serve a more beneficial purpose for my existence? You know, it's this quest that we all live on of why we live, that cliche old, what's life? What do I exist for? I am the protagonist in my story. Where am I going? What am I doing? But that's, yeah. And through my interesting 2.5 years, I lost a lot of myself. Like, I poured a lot of myself out. And I really wouldn't wish that on anyone, because there's nothing pleasant about that. Do I feel more stable now? Do I feel more grounded? Do I feel more purposeful? Yeah, absolutely. And those are my focuses. My purpose, and my biggest purpose being my son. And how I can not overly guide him, but nurture him the way through intuitiveness. Now I'm really talking mumbo jumbo, but I've told you 1,000 times, like, in my life right now, everything starts at number 3. Like, my first spot in my life is my son. The second spot in my life is my son. and whatever 3 is 3. And it goes down from there. Because if we're just, this is another conversation. And this is, again, my perspective. But if we're really going to help balance the world, and I'm not going to say heal the world, I'm not going to say fix the world, I'm not going to say make I'm talking about balance the world. If we're really going to balance the world, the most pinpointed, precise way you can do that is with our children. If you balance the children, you'll balance the world. That's it. We're not healing the world. We're making the world a super happy utopia. Balance them. Give balance to the world. Because we can talk about what I think we're releasing tomorrow, the shadow and the light, and the purpose of dark and light. You need balance. And yeah, that's where my...
Okay, I think this is now the last question.
Yes.
Because this feels complete now, because it's so interesting. I think in the beginning of this week, when you came here to the island, we were talking about the balance keepers. And so what does it mean to balance the world? What does it mean for you?
For me, okay, I can speak for me, and then I can only speak for me. I feel that balance is being fully connected to intuitiveness. And I can give the analogy of what happened to us all week long as an analogy, as a intuitiveness energy. We had a magical week. So many incredible things happened. Being guided by like a Kalima, and like meeting with people, and things happening with your friends. And the balance of that is that we're riding this high wave of feeling purposeful in knowledge. We get humiliated and humbled and taught a harsh lesson in the middle of that. For me, that's balance, because it's a never-ending spiral of growth and understanding, and you need that, that's balance on each side. For me, that's just balance. And for my son, I wish for him to understand that you can't balance yourself without accepting your failures and taking, not advantage, but not taking your growth moments for granted. So pay attention to what you've learned. Pay attention to what you grow in your garden. Let it nurture you. Grow your garden. Get out there and suffer for it. Sweat in the hot sun and dig deep and plant it, and then nurture yourself for whatever grows. I really sound like I'm some kind of...
No, but... No, there's not so much to add, but it's a really, as I'm saying always, when you talk, I have these pictures in my head, and it's, this week was kind of there were so many things that show this balance. Also, it's so, when this episode is gonna be published, the light and the shadow and the light will be published. But that's also it. We were talking about in that shadow and light episode about the shadow and the light inside of us as well. Like we cannot live a fulfilled life without going into our, how do I say, bad emotions or sadness or whatever. And then now what you said now, or what we experienced yesterday, we will always be reminded that we are humans, and that's where we have to go into as well. So it's this spiral, or
it's a spiral.
It's a spiral, and
location, and it's and the good thing about it is it's like it's a spiral. Just it's like dark light, but what's happening the whole time in the spiral? What's happening? What am I doing right now? It's growing. It's growing. Dark light, that spiral's growing. Yeah. And I'm just realizing this as I say it. I'm not pretending to know this knowledge.
No, but I think it's everything we talked today now in this episode also about the observing our behaviors as well and being aware of it. Because that's also often something people don't want to look at.
I'm going to say one more little hilarious note that just conjured in my mind right now. I had another moment today, and I won't go into the details, but one of her friends that owns this beautiful place we were staying told me something that made me feel incredibly good. Like I was high afterwards. I was just like, wow, she really... And we went to the beach afterwards, and I needed a moment to myself. I needed to put my heads on, listen to my favorite band, and expand in this energy. And what happened in this moment? I sat out there and got sunburnt because I'm human. That's what happened. Humbled by universe yet again. Got you again. Yeah. Wow, that was fun. Our first live podcast. Ladies and gentlemen.
And the glass of wine is empty.
She got me drunk and I started speaking all spiritual. Oh, God. All right. Cool. Bye. Well, my friends, that'll about do it for now. We appreciate y'all hanging out with us and allowing us to share our brain activities with you. And until next time, we'll catch you later.